To age with grace. Birds. Yeah. I don't know what that crow's up to. Oh, it's like, what? 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 Anyway, so to age with grace and be honorable. There's sort of a generational thing. Like Gen X, I think, is getting this idea of, because we got to see people that our parents thought were really cool people, but we couldn't understand what's so cool about them. And it turned out they were these actors from way back when there was just better quality of stage to then film actors. And then the people who end up being like real stage and film actors who end up now and then on TV shows that end up becoming like a really big deal. And that a lot of us who end up kind of on the right, this was a weird thing, because what started to happen more and more was sort of like the left started to become these people that, to know old TV shows, to know really cool shit from the revolutionary period of the 60s, and to like know like where did we even get that style of like hairstyle, dress style, where did we get this idea of this type of anti-hero, like that in film, like there, you kind of see how it's sort of a pattern. It eventually, by the time you get to the millennials, a lot of this stuff is just packaged. It's just that especially the style issue, because I never knew anything about Hot Topic. There we go. I didn't know what that was because I didn't go to malls. I wore Dickies, and you could get Dickies delivered like for years. I mean, so I would just get Dickies delivered or get my Ben Davis delivered. Yeah, so I didn't know about, how certain things had gotten kind of packaged into this subculture and this style. So it sort of was like you didn't need to know where that style came from in history and how cool it was made to look, like, and how to do it right. And that was a big part of especially Gen X, was that how to kind of make it look right. And this is where you get then the explosion during the Gen X specific, the age group and stuff, of acceptance of gays. Why? One of the best things I've ever seen was, what was it? God dang it. Katie Lang doing some people call me Maurice. Whoop woo. Gangster of Love. Yes. Okay. Katie Lang had kind of come back from a sleepy period, 2-3 albums in, does Gangster of Love, and she's got this suit on, and the cut is just dope. And the whole style is just, she's on it. She was on her game. And I was able to appreciate something like that. I was there to see that. Culture Club and Boy George, it's like, it's sad. Huh. Yeah, that is Grandpa. Yeah, Uncle's doing his Qigong. You see, I'm 50. Oh, look, yeah, he's doing it the real way. Like, you whip the arms. I can't show you. I think that would be kind of rude. But yeah, he's Uncle's getting down. Uncle's still doing his kung fu. It's I'm 50 years old today. So you got to age with grace. You can't be trying to be on the scene like a sex machine forever. I I'm seeing a lot of men older than me buy really fancy Stetsons and fedoras. And they can. They're older, they've got the money for it, I get it. It's just that there's a part of me that I'm like, I just note it. Like, that's an interesting, it's an interesting, thing to see people start doing, is buy these fancy hats in their retirement years. And so, aging with grace, there we go. Bike dicks. You don't see the same bike dickery as the boomer to Gen X bike dicks. People who really, it's like there's something about the way that they just get to you with their fucking behavior on their bicycle. And that you're just like, I was having a fine day, and then this guy, I don't know what the fuck he was doing. I don't know. He's the idiot who couldn't figure it out. I didn't even see him. It's bike dicks. Like, that's one of these things that it's like you would think that there would be kind of a thing in the culture that the bike culture ages with a kind of grace. And I don't think it is. It's and a big part of it is crime and thievery. People just steal bikes a lot, and ruin bikes just to ruin them, just to ruin people's things. It's like that's a thing now, And so I was just thinking about, like, that's a part of an aspect of the culture that I just sit back and I'm like, I don't look around and see some kind of way that, like, now the old folks, they could pedal around and bicycles are just ultra affordable because, manufacturing has advanced so much, and this, that, and the other. So it's got kind of this high-tech aspect. Now it's the e-bikes that's really an industry dominated by China mostly. And that's fine, and that could have a grace to it, kind of a classiness that could come out of that. It's just not. I'm like, it's people on bikes, it's it. There was a time, I guess it's because I got to see in Eugene, Oregon, the Bike Brigade, where it was a bunch of people who would be partying on certain nights of the week, and they would meet up all on their bicycles, and they would decorate these bicycles just insanely. Lots of lights, lots of neon. They would dress up in all kinds of wild colors and stuff, and they would just kind of go to the swinging spots around town and mob up and just kind of dance around for a few moments and shout woo, and then get on their bikes and go on to the next thing. And then sometimes it was pub crawl style. And it was really fun. It was really one of these things, like, when people weren't aware of what it was really fun to, like, be like, oh yeah, it's the Bike Brigade. And people made friends that way. That you can't do that now downtown Eugene. Won't work right. Won't be okay. Not a good scene. And it's a generational thing. That generation, those were a lot of them, while Gen X, a lot of them were millennials, into electronica. They wanted a different sound. Everything was hip hop. It had to be hip hop. That's why I was paying so much attention to the burgeoning, the sort of the death, the last hurrah of punk rock, real good punk rock bands that were up here at that time, and that rock and roll kind of had this. And then there was kind of art house rock bands that you really had to, like, actually kind of know the art house people to be like, wait, what band is this? This is really good. These guys really rock, And so that was fun. That was a fun period of time. And then millennials aged out of that. I mean, some of these bands, like I could literally say, like there's a couple of them that I'm like, no. And then they had kids. Like I remember her and him. I see them around. They had children. And, blah, 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 blah. He got married on the second tour, that was really, when they came up here, So now, we've got to this stage, to kind of the political part of it, and then honor. So, various issues that they've been going on for decades, like abortion, divorce law, and all the stuff around divorce law, and then things like Palestine and Israel, and so these the millennials kind of explode into the first stage of their kind of revolutionary, and that they really did think that they were thinking about things that nobody had considered yet, or kind of society had just turned a blind eye to or something. And it's just like, no, really, that there's just certain administrations that just never kind of settled this up, or there just wasn't enough power in one end of government that somebody's policy plans could be instituted. That's why, like, abortion is where it's at now. So you get with the millennials solidly, and then and it gets worse as the time goes on. People like Adam Ruins Everything on Tim Pool, and all of the things that he did. Like, now people are starting to go through the video and they're picking these things out. And I have to say, I've said this a lot of times, there's a lot of you that you have your own bullet point kind of thing. They say this about the subject, then they'll usually divert going this way or that way. Then when you get them there, they go to this, and then they divert doing this, that, and this. Next stage they say this, and because there's not candor, frankness, and honor, that's not happening. And this lack of candor, frankness, and honor now, there is no Joe Rogan of the left if you are not candid, you're not frank, and you're dishonorable. And the behavior of Adam Ruins Everything on Tim Pool's show, it was truly that kind of, it was like everything that you would loathe. If you have to accomplish something, if somebody were behaving like this, and it had to be accomplished, like it's an earthquake, you've got to get some things together. You got to get a 72-hour pack together. Like, this is a person who you're like, I have no clue if this person is going to end up, just ruining everything and we die. This is totally, you can't ascertain, like, what is this person, like Tim Pool. You get this idea of, like, probably Tim Pool has a 72-hour pack already packed, just because he knows where he lives, and he's actually, like, kind of lived that quasi-homeless lifestyle, so he knows, but one of the things I started thinking about really was, like, yeah, this is one of these people that also, if you've been around rough men, you can't behave the way Adam Ruins Everything behaved. You can't act like that. They take it as an insult. They take it very much as an insult. And this is what even led to Antifa and BLM, is endless amounts of this type of behavior. just constantly. Every issue, every argument. Now with the left is somebody just playing with you. They're just playing around, wasting your time. There's nothing about knowing what they're talking about, or that there's something, they have some great sources on this. And then we keep finding out, like, okay, and this was a one, I picked up on it very early. And the scientists apparently were already working on this because of what some of them were working on, was complexity of language. And that one of the issues right now, what is going on? One of the things that is the complexity of language that you get on the left of center. And that when they're discussing issues, when they're going through things, and there are videos on YouTube, posts that were supposedly like these amazing posts, okay, that were supposedly these amazing posts, that these posts wouldn't have very complex language. I think it's kids playing in the bushes around the creek. Like, it's just, that's so odd to me that kids are playing in the bushes, that I'm like, what is that? Like, see, the world's healing. The world is healing. Wow. You know how I usually show those ducks like on a pond? So that's what it looks like as the water retreats, as it becomes warmer and a bit drier. Look at that. Isn't that cool? It's that huge expanse. There's still water there. There's not much. Yeah, all this grass, beautiful tall grass, so the birds and the insects can get into season and everything. I think that's the idea, because what they do is they cut it back bit by bit, as you can see. And after about a month to 2 months, it'll be cut all the way back and all look like this. So it takes, you just notice that over time there's a wisdom to it. I've come to also get that there's a lot of pieces to civilization, and you got to let the various pieces, work the way they work. I've come to the Roman Church, subsidiarity, and from what I understand, that's like that's been adopted by other realms of knowledge, that that they recognize that idea. Subsidiarity, and this, that you want the smallest portion to be able to do kind of its function and survive, and that it has some kind of harmonious, adapted relationship with other things around it. So there's those people who that's what they do. So even in public works, like, I had this libertarian fervor for a while. It's like, but I don't know. Even Stefan Molyneux, as time's gone on, there's been things that it was like, he didn't really know that. And that he got really, when he started getting around 50, he started really making it clear, like, what a person knows, it's specialized knowledge. You do have to recognize, well, did you know that? You didn't? Okay, well, that's what this person's field of specialized knowledge is. So just get that, understand that, respect that. That was actually something about the whole COVID thing and experts and such like, is that what was very interesting was this idea that TV expert suddenly became like the truth, in human form, when the whole idea of the kind of the democratization of being able to reach people would have been through YouTube, BitChute, Rumble, that kind of thing, X. So you would think that, oh, well, of course people are going to look into what's being said by the experts about COVID, because there would be all these many doctors and many physicians that would have varying ideas on it. And the fact that all was ruined, that there was ruined, and now confidence in the field of expertise is now kind of over. That it's very much also made people cynical in a way that instead of a type of cynicism that kind of favors the left of center, now you've got a cynicism that is fundamentally about the left of center. The left has not aged with grace. They didn't latch on to what was good about the revolution that they like. The parts of the Cultural Revolution that it was like, this was really cool. And, and most people have forgotten it ever happened. And, this is, we all grew up on this, and that's why then you get these stars in this movie and blah, 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 blah. And, and so that, because they seeded that to critic channels on YouTube, not taking anything away. They seed this to the critic channels on YouTube, and the critic channels end up becoming, much more famous, and then are considered right of center when they really bring up, well, a lot of this stuff that people are doing is just not very good. Here's these things in the past that were really good, and the stuff people are doing now is just not really good. And people are, how can you say that? I don't really know much about movies and theater and stuff like that. All I know is that I like this person who pretends to be other people. And it's empowering. I feel empowered with the empowerment of a person who looks like me, because there's never been anyone who looks like me ever, who's ever recited somebody else's writing on camera. And at a certain point when, Gen X especially was okay, because people didn't know that how much this was being said. They didn't know that the wacky diversification of television and movies, where you're kind of mocking the subject matter, that it's just preposterous. And that really people are going to look back and be like, why was there this person in this show? And it will be this area that will be these kind of, there will be these ugly people who like watching this stuff because it's stupid. Because I know people get this one, because you've met these people. These people are like kind of weird. They're kind of, they're both weird, and typically nowadays they're weird and they're not good looking. They're the combination of both of those. And they are fixated on what is fundamentally just shit media. They love shit media. Now, I gotta admit, there was the whole thing of, at a certain time in my life, I was into samurai movies and lots of kung fu movies, and Hong Kong gangster stuff, and and then there was, but also we were really into also the kind of art house end of what was the cool thing at the time, like La Femme Nikita, that eventually spawns The Professional, and a whole series of TV kind of copies, knockoffs of La Femme Nikita, really. That pop up in movie after movie and show after show. She's been programmed to kill. How will she maintain her? How will she go on dates? It's like, how will she shop for shoes when she's been programmed to kill? She fires a Desert Eagle with ease. Anyway, so things like that have not aged well. They've not aged with grace. Hollywood ended up like Hollywood totally overdid TRT, and now is just all fucked up. Said fuck that TRT and more fucking Molly, like, or got on the new drug, and now there's just nothing left, just totally burnt out, just not even moves. So like really weird, caved in, like skin, flappy, awful, where you're like, oh man, what happened to this person? Oh, they lost all this weight really fast, so their skin's hanging off them. So yeah, but what else, Oh yeah, they did like all the drugs, that was their thing, was to do all the drugs, and now it's gone horribly wrong. And yeah, and this is what you got. So now, aging gracefully, let me give kind of an example of something that would be like there's a model for it. It's been done in, with entertainment, is this idea that at a certain point, like, say, like Christina Aguilera, after the itchy kitschy ya thing, Moulin Rouge, that was pretty much the last, like, that was last, that, these leather boots, are squishing me too much. That it was the end. I'm getting too much calf squish for these boots. You can't find a boot with a neck big enough for these legs anymore. That's the stage at which the person starts turning towards something like jazz music. I think Queen Latifah, she actually, if I remember correctly, at some point made this switch. Somebody like Aguilera could have done that, but if I remember correctly, kind of like tried again something more like some kind of pop hit thing, and it didn't work. And then, you get to see, oh my God, look at Christina Aguilera now. Well, if she had aged gracefully in this idea of like, well, of course she's getting older, but she now sings all these really beautiful songs, like takes on songs, covers in a different style that could have been done. I think Mariah Carey did some things like this, but also tried to keep it a little too pop. And it's the Gen X performers, this seems to be something that their management doesn't get them involved in, is no, make it, go back to older genres, take on something that's more subtle, that it's, your fan base is older, you got to figure that their tastes change too. Surprise them. That's how you do it, and not aging gracefully. The Hollywood thespians, there's almost nothing that has cost the Democrats and the left like the thespians. The actors so infuriate people. The writers of, critique and writers left of center, these video game writers, the whole Alyssa Mercante, Kotaku thing. Then there's the guys like Adam Ruins Everything from BuzzFeed. They really don't take seriously, like, you guys are why people now really enjoy seeing you suffer. Like, you guys personally, you made it this thing of, look at me, I'm big time writer Alyssa Mercante. I'm this guy, Adam, blah blah blah, and I ruin everything. And in ruining everything, one of the key things I do is I make odd expressions. And so it's now this thing of like, people like seeing you suffer. They like kind of knowing that it's getting really bad for you, you know, and there's no money that's going in your direction. There's no way of what is even happening here. There's no way of having any kind of really kind of this feeling like, oh, you know, it would have ended up differently. I don't know what's going on. This is super weird. I have no idea where that's even coming from. It's just coming from the bushes. See, then there's that. Not aging well. The West Coast. The West Coast had an opportunity. And it massively missed. The West Coast could have shown fortitude and honor. Said, no, you can't destroy things. No, you've got your people's social grievances are going to have to be handled between people. That's how it works. That's how things really are. So now, it was like some teenage kid crashing out like a mofo in the bushes. Super weird. All right, what a weirdo. Weird ass. Anyway. I can be an old, grumpy old man now. I'm 50. So take up smoking. No, I'm kidding. Oh yeah, Joe Biden. Not aging gracefully. God dang, that's rough. I mean, that's really rough. You know, and I do concur with what that one physician is saying. Are we sure this guy hadn't had cancer for a while? You know, but yeah, and so just some thoughts I'm having. I'm gonna get a snack. I'll talk to you guys later.